Stealing by Carol Ann Duffy is about a person who is telling a time that they stole a snowman. They continue to talk about their life as a thief. And Duffy wrote this poem in the 1980s during Margaret Thatcher's ministry as a response to the created culture of greed and selfishness. The government also ignored the working class during this time, and the result was unemployment, which was very common. The speaker is deliberately vague in their gender to make the poem and its ideas relatable to everyone, maybe in the situation of unemployment. One of the first things you notice about the poem is that it is split into 5 stanzas. The lines of the poem lack regularity in their meter, which reflects the irregularity of the situation and order of the poem. The speaker tells their story in the form of a monologue, which Duffy is known to use in many of her poems. The apostrophe in the first line of the first stanza shows that the speaker is talking to someone, but the audience is not clear. The speaker continues by describing the setting in lines 2 and 3 with the use of visual imagery. Using words like midnight and winter moon expresses the time of day as the middle of the night, which is when most robberies take place. The speaker then describes the snowman. The speaker talks in a way that makes it seem like he thinks of the snowman as a person. This sets the tone of the speaker as lonely because they have no one else to experience a life as a thief with, and it also creates a partner in crime for the speaker. Overall, the snowman parallels the speaker in that they are both cold on the inside. This idea is reinforced in lines 4 and 5. Also, the tone changes in the speaker, making he or she seem more aggressive due to the diction used in the simile. The continuation of this harsh tone is continued into the second stanza, where the first line says, better off dead than giving in. This reflects the cynical tone of the speaker, making the reader assume that the speaker has lived a hard life. And this idea is continued in line 10 when the speaker says life's tough. The reader can infer that the speaker possibly steals because it was the only way the speaker could continue to live due to their circumstances. Additionally, the speaker describes actually stealing the snowman. They describe the situation as tough and cold, but knowing that it would make a child cry in the morning was worth it, which shows that the speaker is cruel. The use of diction of piercing in line 9, I think shows that the speaker knows deep down that what they're doing is wrong, but continue to do it anyways. I think both of these ideas reflect the speaker's attitude towards their life. To continue, in the third stanza, the speaker talks about how aimless his or her thieving is, which is reinforced with the stealing of the snowman. The speaker also talks about how they leave a mess everywhere they go. And both of these ideas make the speaker seem immature because it is similar to how a child would act. Also, these ideas reflect Duffy's original reasoning behind the poem in that the speaker is selfish to, 1, stealing things that don't belong to them, and leaving a mess behind them. The immaturity and messiness of the speaker is continued into the fourth stanza when the speaker returns to the story of stealing the snowman. In line 16, when the speaker is reassembling the snowman, and it does not look the same, the speaker then destroys the snowman. This response is out of frustration, maybe because the speaker feels they cannot do anything right, but it also seems like a reaction a toddler would have when they are having a tantrum. This makes the speaker seem maybe because they might be a juvenile delinquent or just a grown adult who acts immaturely. The hyperbole in line 18 also makes the speaker seem young because younger people tend to talk with more hyperboles. At the end of the stanza, the speaker is left feeling hopeless in a world he no longer wants to be a part of. The reader now feels sympathetic towards the speaker because of how hopeless the speaker sounds. The fifth stanza is the main reason behind the speaker stealing: boredom. This is reinforced by the hyperbole in line 21, which says, "Mostly I'm so bored I could eat myself." The stanza continues to show that the speaker has tried to improve their life and cure their boredom, but it hasn't worked. This continues the tone of sympathy for the speaker. Duffy uses this to explain why there was a high rate of unemployment in England, because the unemployed have tried to better their lives, but it is hard to get back to a normal life when so far the person feels helpless. I think it's important to point out that in line 23, the speaker talks about stealing a bust of Shakespeare, and I think this stuck out to me because so far the poem has used very plain language, which suits the speaker, but in this line he talks about Shakespeare, which shows that he has had an education and knows who Shakespeare is. I think this just shows that you can underestimate a person who is stealing very random things, but you just never know what a person is going through unless you learn about what they are actually going through. The last line of the stanza reinforces this helplessness of the speaker's situation with the rhetorical question of, "You don't understand a word I'm saying, do you?" The speaker has spent the whole poem talking about their life, and they still feel that their audience doesn't understand them. It's as if they are talking to a brick wall. And I think overall this poem just shows that it shows a different perspective as to why people steal. And I think Duffy wanted her audience to rethink their opinions on those around them, because everyone has their own struggles that they have to deal with, and everyone just has a different way of expressing what they're going through.